Welcome everybody to our next segment. I am very excited to introduce our next speakers, Chris and Tara Adams. For over 14 years, Chris and Tara Adams have identified an avenue to connect organic supplementation and healthy living to families and communities across the country. Chris and Tara are firm believers in the power of organic supplementation, especially with the recent mounting concerns over the diminishing quality of food across the United States. Sharing their passion for creating more healthy lifestyle choices throughout positive habit development is a huge part of their family culture. Having grown up as athletes, they both strive to continue to lead healthy lifestyles and teach others through experience along the way. Chris graduated in 2003 from the University of Rhode Island with a BA in psychology and ran Division I track and field as a high hurdler. And Tara graduated from Stonehill College with a BA in criminology and played Division II volleyball. So by profession, Chris and Tara currently support the Department of Defense from both the consulting and civilian arenas, and are much more excited and educated about the impact they are making in the entrepreneurial health and wellness world. Welcome, Chris and Tara.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for being here with us. I'm just really super excited to have you both here. And I'm so proud to mention that I know you both personally, and I'm so delighted that you're here. And listening to your bio, my goodness, you guys are just jack of all trades and you're great at almost everything that you do. So let's take it away, Stephanie.
Yeah. So both of you, please share your story. Tell us who you are, what you're all about, what inspired you to do what you do. Even go ahead and share some of your biggest challenges and how you've been able to overcome them and achieve success. So the floor is yours.
Thanks.
Oh,
Thanks. Yeah.
That.
I mean, how long do we have? Like 3 hours or days? Our background is actually pretty lengthy because we are high school sweethearts.
Yep. In it for the long haul. I made it work, right? I said I found one, holding on to her. So we did it.
But we won't start there. We definitely won't start there. We have definitely just always been passionate about health and wellness, and even like from an inner health, outer beauty standpoint, because it's really holistic health and wellness. I feel, everything that you take in affects what you put out. And, along the way, coming out of school, especially being athletes, I would never say former athlete, but being athletes definitely just gives you an awareness of nutrition and the importance of what you take in. We've always been passionate about that. And shortly after we got out of school, we were like, how can we take that and educate others and, create an impact? Because I think a lot of people don't have the resources that we had, even through coaches, through our parents, through all the different, mentors that we've had along the way. It's been just eye-opening to see how important your nutrition is to your energy, to your ability to perform in work, school, everything. So we've just become really passionate about that.
100%. We've decided that if we were going to make a choice, we're going to make it the choice that's going to impact us long term, right? And I feel like, for people that have different work scenarios and different lifestyles, it's usually whatever's closest, whatever is, going to fit the bill for that moment, and they move on. And they don't realize that compounds over time. I heard it put this way: either you pay now or you pay later. And in the healthcare industry, it's usually really expensive later, right?
Really?
We've identified a way to partner with organic, holistic approach nutrition companies that have allowed us to distribute all across the country, and in some cases all across the world, that really have allowed us to make an impact in that arena. And we like the fact that we've just focused on being holistic in the sense that it starts with a relationship, and really finding that need, bridging a gap in a conversation and in a relationship, and then identifying, hey, you know what, we may have a either supplement obviously, namely, because that's what we're here to talk about, but also maybe there's some habits that we can help form and transform to help with what you're doing. Because although I don't know, I grew up watching the Jetsons, you know,
Me too.
Okay, there you go. See, so, you know,
I'm so much younger than that.
Yeah. Not too much younger, but anyway.
And I'm so much older than that.
Anyway,
you'd never tell.
Definitely not. But, you know, there is no, you know, pill that you put in the microwave and then it comes out with a Thanksgiving turkey, right? Although that would be highly efficient, there is no such thing. But we've identified ways to get kind of close to that, right? Which, you know, we'll be able to share a couple things here just shortly. But, you know, I think the biggest component is what Tara just talked about. What you put in is what comes out, right? And I think, you know, if there's ways that you can supplement better and add to, not completely change, because change is a scary word for people, right? And so is the word diet, right? But diet is just whatever you're putting in, whether it's whatever you're consuming, you know, whether it's in your eyes, what you're reading, what you're listening to, right? And what you're consuming from a nutrition standpoint. So small changes that compound over time are going to make the biggest benefit long-term. And that's something that is easy to move along with, right? The fab diets, the crash diets, how you want to put it. I mean, running as an athlete, I ate a lot, and there was no such thing as, well, what diet am I on? No, it's consume because I have to run around a track for a few hours, right? It was all about fuel, right? So focusing in on those simple components of little changes, little habits with your supplementation, allowing that to compound over time, and focusing in on your food is your fuel. Right. And that's going to help you be the best, whether you're focusing in and giving that extra push as an entrepreneur, or, you know, you're supporting a family. I mean, however you want to put it, we need that energy. We need that focus. We need that health.
Yeah. And through the years of just educating ourselves and, you know, watching patterns of like eating, you know, as an athlete, and, you know, you can eat whatever you want when you're working out every single day, couple hours a day. And then you leave college and you're like, oh, like, so I shouldn't just keep eating if I'm not going to keep moving, you know? So for us, it was more like, okay, how do we balance that? Like for me, I don't want to eat anything. I don't want to consume anything unless it tastes good, but that doesn't always serve me in my health and wellness walk. But we had to find this balance, and, you know, Nutrilite as a brand, the all organic supplements, they literally bring that to the table. You know, there's all sorts of healthy snacking and healthy options as far as food and intake is concerned. But we just found like, hey, it's not just about what you eat, because we're also limited to the foods that we have access to. You know, 100%. That was something that we definitely found as we were growing through into adulthood. You know, as we had kids, we were like, oh, wow, like, I didn't care about what I ate myself before I had kids. And then I'm like, why do I care more about that once I have kids? I should care about myself too, right? So as a mom, it's like you take on all this other, you know, like you're just like, okay, I have to think about what's going in their mouth. Are they getting vegetables? Are they getting fruits? Are they having a balanced diet? You know, my question to our son every day is like, what protein have you had today? Because you need some sort of protein every day. You can't be like once a week.
So he takes after his mother in the sense that he loves carbohydrates. I don't blame him, right? I mean, we're from New York originally. Give us a slice.
Yes.
See, I mean, it's too easy, right? So we're always like, hey, what protein did you have? Right? Today he had a hamburger, and we're like, oh, good. Back at school, he's eating some food, right? Now, even then, when you look at, you know, just kind of the process of how foods are distributed, I mean, the food industry worldwide is a $15 trillion industry. There's a lot of money built into that, right? So what does that mean when it comes to a corporation? They're trying to cut corners. Let's just be honest, okay? Not every company, not every company, right? But of course, it's how much production for the least amount of overhead so we can tap into the most amount of profit. It's a simple equation. And what we've recognized, and even doing a little bit of research, you can look at, you know, Google something now and take a look at chronic illnesses over the past 40 years, right? I mean, was it back in the 60s? It was like 4% of the population was obese. Now you're looking at in each state, it's anywhere between 35 to 40% of the population is obese. there's something to be said about that, right? That speaks volumes to me. You know, when you look at, you know, the ultra processed foods that people have access to, they're cheap, you know, and it's usually coming down to $1 bill. You know, how can we get access to this stuff, right? So that's where, you know, and Tara mentioned Nutrilite. I mean, they've been around since 1934, and that's a company that we've chosen to partner with because they bring the I don't know, the mainstream look as far as a product to service is concerned, with, you know, products that taste good, they're pleasing to the eye, but they also are very nutrient dense. And when we're talking about all organic, I mean, they bought up surrounding farmlands for their plot of land out in California, so that way there's no runoff of pesticides. That says, I mean, when you look at other companies that say organic, well, I mean, if you're next to a plot of land that's not organic, once it rains, that's it. You know, it's no longer organic. You know, look at some of the superfoods, right? Like strawberries. You better be getting that organic, right? Because it has no outer shell to protect itself, so it soaks up anything that's in the air. And, you know, Nutrilite, they've decided to use earthworms to aerate the soil and ladybugs as a natural pesticide to ward off any other insects. Just random things that we started to look into. We're like, man, that's actually really important. You know, like we should be asking every company that we purchase from, you know, where are you getting your products, and how are you processing this? Is it even all in the same location? Are you, you know, using a sub company to provide one part of the product and then just slapping a label on it and calling it yours? And we don't really know what we're getting. Been there, done that. Right? You know, so.
Yeah. And something else that I really like about the supplements in general is that we can find out which plot of land they pulled the vegetables and, you know, fruits from in order to create the vitamins. Right. And they do it all from one location. So they ship it out from one location, and the quality control is insane. Yep. The traceability is so important. One of the really important tips when you're kind of like trying to look at your supplements, what you're using now, is break it apart. Like if it's a different color on the outside than it is on the inside, it's probably synthetic. Yeah. And the problem with that is that there have been people that have had to get their stomachs pumped because it doesn't break down all the way. And when you're taking a vitamin, a lot of times people are thinking, oh, well, vitamins don't really make a difference. I don't feel a difference. It doesn't, I take it because I think it's like the right thing to do, but I don't really know what benefit it's providing. And it's oftentimes because your body can't break it down and therefore can't get the nutrients that it should be getting from that vitamin. Right. And there's so many different vitamins out there, but that's a really good test of like, is this something that's effective for supplementation? And, you know, with our vitamins, it's the same color through and through, and you can smell it. It smells like dirt, which, you know, can be a challenge when you're trying to start. Yeah, that is a good sign.
Talking about a challenge, that might be a challenge, right? But, you know, it's definitely a good sign.
And thankfully, that's not the case for kids.
Right. No, I was just going to interject and say I love wheatgrass because it tastes like grass, and you know, I love that it tastes like nature. I don't care if it's, you know, good or bad, but I have come to love it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, and you just knowing that it's fresh and like,
yes,
you know, real, you're like, okay, this is great.
Yeah, I can see it being pulled from the roots, and I
I know. And when I was younger, I did not appreciate that. I was like, oh my gosh, this smells terrible. It must be terrible. Right. Versus, you know, no, this means that it is actually coming from the earth. It's healthy, and it's just a really good test to like see, okay, is my vitamin gonna like giving me a shot to actually get some benefit out of it?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, I really want to ask this question. And I say this is because once upon a time, when I first started learning about supplements, and the same explanation you guys have been sharing too, what I have learned that really cleared it all for me was the absorption rate. And I know that sounded really technical, but I think it's exactly what you're trying to convey here, is that there are so many different vitamins out there, and that because you are taking it doesn't mean that it's actually doing anything for you, because it depends on the quality and where it's grown and etc. Because it depends on how it's digested, the percentage of it gets absorbed in your body, right? Am I on the right track here? Yeah, and let's say if it's synthetic or versus organic and whatnot, like you're absorbing absorbent or absorption rates could be 10% versus 90. And that is ultimately the reason why someone would feel the difference or no difference at all, right? Am I on the right track with supplements?
Absolutely.
100%.
Right.
We're like, okay, yeah.
And then to be on this, to piggyback on Dee Dee, I've also heard, it's kind of like what you guys were talking about breaking open a capsule, right? And knowing what's on the outside and what it looks like on the inside. So many supplements out there that people, think that they're buying and doing good by, and they mean well, are filled with binders and fillers and things that don't give them over 90% of absorption. It's not even just absorption. They're not getting 90 to 100% of what it is that they're being sold, at these health markets, at these vitamin shops. So it really is also doing your homework on what vitamins and supplements are out there. It really is.
Yes. So take it away, Tara and Chris. What else do you have in store for us? Teach us, let us know all and everything about what we need to know about supplements. I'm excited.
Sure. Well, I think just even on that same, plane of thought, if you will, the interesting component about rate of absorption and how that process works. I mean, you could get super technical for sure. But back to even talking about ultra processed foods, our bodies have, I would say maybe ours, but people's bodies have become accustomed to not getting what they actually need. Right. Yeah. And that's how the body operates. It's going to find homeostasis one way or another. Okay. It's going to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to crave a certain type of food because in my mind, I already know, those Cheez-Its, they probably have some calcium in there, right? Like it's going to have something in there that I need. And right. Yeah. You're hoping, right? Your brain's like, probably, right? Cheese. I figured that out in elementary school, no problem. But that's not actually what your body's getting, right? So when you look at identifying and filling in the gaps in your supplementation or your diet rather, it's really identifying what supplements do you need. Not everybody needs the same thing, and that's also another thing, maybe talking about some challenges is where, the idea is that, okay, everybody needs to intermittent fast. I love intermittent fasting. Not everybody needs it. Okay. When you look at, certain, weight loss supplements, whether it's something that would be like a CLA, which binds to, fatty acids, if you will, and flushes it out of your system. Not everybody needs that because based off of what you and your doctor have discussed, I mean, that could be detrimental, right? Your body needs fat. Does that make sense? So I think when you come to the point of, okay, what is it that you're taking in? Again, you can even talk about rate of absorption, all those pieces. What's catered to you in particular? Right. A particular game plan is where people really need to focus in and zero in. And I think that's one of the challenges that we've run into is that, okay, well, everybody feels like, okay, well, I see a celebrity talking about it. That means I need to do it. False. You see a celebrity talking about it, you're going to be giving them some more of your money, right? Like that's what's happening, right? They're getting paid to say those things, right? So I think that's something to really consider where it's breaking these habits of what we thought eating food is or was, and what it actually is for you in particular. I mean, I think that's a big point.
Yeah, and one of the doctors that we've partnered with in the past, Dr. Chet, he's always talking about, hey, whatever you do it consistently.
Yep.
Even you can't do everything, but just do it consistently. Like if you're going to take supplements, take them at the same time every day, because then your body is preparing itself for that. It uses it the best. Even if you can't take all the things, prioritize what maybe you're deficient in when your doctor does the blood test or whatever. Hey, you're deficient in iron, you're deficient in calcium. Okay, prioritize that and make sure you're doing it the same time every day. And it's so interesting how habits and supplementation, habits and everything go together, I think. And that's probably the most difficult thing. Like anytime you're trying to walk into a health, experience, a health lifestyle, like you have to think, okay, what habits do I need to change, if any, or what habits can I substitute? Because that's an easy way to, take a bad habit and replace it with a good one, or is there something I can stack on top of stuff that I'm already doing? I'm already eating breakfast every day. So when I eat breakfast, I can take my supplement. Because the other thing is, when do you do it? When can you, I always forget, these are the things that we hear people say, and it's literally taking control of your routine, taking control of your habits. So that's something that we work on with people as well. And, anytime we're talking to people, we're like, hey, this is an individual plan. This is what works for your life. conversation.
And Tara brought up a good point with Dr. Chet Zalasko. He's out in Michigan. He has multiple PhDs in multiple sections of the nutrition world. He's fantastic. He, in his line of work and the things that we've seen, although I mentioned everything is very specified, he's always said a probiotic is something that everybody should be taking.
For everyone.
Gut health.
I do that.
See, I mean, it is, our kids have done that since they were able to take vitamins. I mean, it's like when they're wee little children, and I mean, they're 10 and almost 9. So I guess they're still wee little children, but whatever. Totally but they love the vitamins, right? And you know, that we have, and that's the other component is, you know, starting that early on. You know, if you're a parent, I mean, like Tara was talking about, you're paying attention to some of this stuff, or maybe you're not. I don't know, but point is, you know, this is where the habit starts. Right. I mean, if you start the habits early, I can't wait till my kids are 20, 30, 40 years old and they can say, yeah, you know, I've had a healthy lifestyle because as early as I can remember, I was taking some of these organic, you know, vitamins, or I was eating fish, I was eating steak, I was eating healthy meals. Now we have our Chick-fil-A every once in a while, right? I mean, we're human, you know, I mean, not to say that that's good or bad or whatever, but it tastes good. So, and of course, there's people that are going to tell me Popeyes is better, but whatever. But the point being is that, you know, when you look at all these components, we want to start it then. And going back to gut health, I mean, everything starts there. There's even such a thing called a gut brain, right? You make decisions on the subconscious level based off of what your intestines are telling you.
Yeah. Ever been hangry? That's a real thing.
Dude, like, but I'm telling you, it's like, you know, and when you really look at that irritability, that comes from an irritability in your gut. And it's incredible how much correlation is built in that. And it's a simple fix, right? It's a simple fix of proper supplementation, right? Even looking at probiotic.
And just to piggyback on probiotics, because it's really so important, especially if you have, or your kids have taken, you know, any type of antibiotics, that literally flushes everything out, all the good and bad bacteria. And, you know, you have to build in the right bacteria. Otherwise the bad stuff will come back. So every time, like, we've gone to our homeopathic doctor, she's like, okay, I don't want to prescribe you antibiotics, but if we have to, let's make sure we do a probiotic to follow up, because we want to make sure we're putting those, you know, good bacteria back in your gut, because it's so critical. It's where allergies start. It's where, you know, even what's going on now, like immunity health is so critical, and people don't even think about it starting in the gut.
You know, probiotic is like you could say it's everywhere. I mean, people drinking kombucha, fermented drinks, things along those lines, which is fantastic. Something to look into if you haven't already done so, and you haven't gone on that journey of finding a good probiotic, is make sure that it has some sort of, you know, casing, right? There's usually going to be something that mentions that there's going to be a casing that actually will not break down the probiotic in your stomach acid. That means it's actually going to get passed through your stomach and get into the places that it needs to be, right? I know some yogurt companies out there say, oh, we have extra probiotic and whatnot, but it's only so good if it doesn't actually reach the points where it actually needs to be absorbed and be utilized. So some things to think about there.
I know. And it is a challenge to like find out all the things that you need to ask, like all the right questions, all the right, you know, so we're here for that. You know, if that's something that would help, you know, boost people's businesses or their individual lifestyles, like we're here, you know, for those questions, because we've learned a lot in our journey, and we like to bring that back to people, because if you spend your time doing something, you know, as a business owner, as a mom, as a, you know, whatever your role is at that day, or whichever hat you're wearing at that moment, you might not have time to do the research and do all the, you know, all the things, but let us know if there are questions, because we can push you in the right direction, so that you don't have to be like Google and then like try to narrow it down and know what's a trusted source and what's not, because we've spent a lot of time doing this, talking to homeopathic doctors, talking to regular pediatricians for, you know, kids purposes, but you know, it's a lot. It could be a lot.
So we've done quite a few consultations with folks to set them on the right path. And you know, sometimes we've identified ways to point them in a different direction, right? Based off their needs, right? And I think that's again, where it comes down to what I talked about earlier, having that relationship, that way information can be shared properly. And I think we lost Stefan here, but it's all good. But being able to identify things that people need on an individual level, and we love doing that. I mean, we're pretty hang loose. I usually wear a t-shirt and shorts when I'm here in the house doing work and such. But it's a hang loose conversation, but we want to identify and be able to help.
And we just really have fun helping people make healthier choices.
Yeah, I think it's really important when you're sharing it being a journey, and that it's customizable, and that is every one situation is unique, and you get to have fun with it. And what I really, really love so much, you keep saying, is that building relationships, because ultimately, what's the point of why we do what we do when we don't get to really truly share our passion? And we get to do that in these relationships that that we are cultivating. Absolutely. And so I have to ask the question of, okay, so what is supplementation only for those that are struggling? And what about those who are, I feel like I'm fairly healthy, right? And so where do I go about to start even looking, should I even take what kind of vitamins? I think the general things like probiotics and all of the things, I'm on it, right? So for a healthier person per se, because sometimes people feel like, oh, I have to take a supplement because I don't eat enough this and that and that. But ultimately, I think at the end of the day, for the conversation we're having, is ultimately, what do you want to put out in the world? What Tara said, but it's the output you want to create, right? And so I'm leaning towards, what do I need if I want to be at peak performance, right? Like in my business and in my being like a mom and a wife. So I would love to hear more about your recommendations in that area.
Sure. Yeah. So we can start with one of the pictures that we have here. And
share our screen real quick, because this is a good way to just identify, are we on track? Are we eating that we need?
100%. Yes. That's why I was like, man, that's a great question. So, and I'll let Tara maybe touch on some of the stuff, because I like taking things from, like you said, maybe people who are high performers, people who are already on it. They're like, great, I know I need to do better, or maybe I'm already doing fantastic. That's awesome. How can I take my business effort or my living effort to the next level? I love talking about stuff like that. So I'll let Tara kind of hit this point.
Well, this is just a really good visual, a good opportunity to grade yourself, because you're with yourself 100% of the day. And so you be honest with yourself, first of all. Do you eat all of these things? And back to what Chris was saying about, even if you're eating organic, how long is that stuff on the shelves? How long has it been since they picked those fruits and vegetables? Because as soon as the fruits and vegetables get picked out of the ground, unless they're flash frozen, which is a great way to get good nutrients, they're depleting their nutrients instantly, as faster and faster from when they get picked. And so that's why for us, Nutrilite prioritizes immediately turning that into a supplement at the time. But are you getting it from the farmer's market? Are you growing your own vegetables and fruits? Because some people do that, and that is so beneficial. But for on the go working moms, maybe I don't have a garden in my house currently. It is a goal eventually. But between this and we actually have, usually the way I think about it is we have color coded our vegetables and fruits. So and it's really easy to think about, because then you might be able to see, okay, what are you deficient in? Are there things that you can kind of bulk up? Because, purple fruits and vegetables, that's going to focus on your brain health. Orange fruits and vegetables is going to be eye health. Green fruits and vegetables, that's going to promote your cellular health. Red, heart, that's the pretty easy one. And then white fruits and vegetables are really good for bone health. So, the color coding of your fruits and vegetables to make sure that there's balance there too, because of course, in this picture, it's just pretty generic, I think is another additional level to say, okay, where am I at currently? But like you said, taking it to another level, there are different daily multivitamins that you have to make sure also that you're getting the phytonutrient part of the plants, because sometimes when the vitamin C is being extracted from the oranges or the acerola cherry, you're missing that phytonutrient, and that kind of also helps people level up as well.
100%. So that, I think that's, to Tara's point, right? Reflect, identify what it is that you're currently doing. Because I mean, anybody that's setting goals, this might be old news, but you don't know how to get to where you're going if you don't know where you're starting, right? So identifying that component first, right? And I think Tara did a great job of covering this component here. But following that is, yes, start with a strong multivitamin. If you have something that you're taking, identify, hey, do I even like this? Am I feeling a difference? You know, is my mental clarity there? Am I getting good rest? You know, what's potentially missing there, right? And I'm going to come back to rest in here in just a second, because that's crucial too. Crucial. So, you know, when you look at a multivitamin, there's a few that, you know, Nutrilite has, but, you know, their flagship item is, and I'll bring this a little bit closer so we could all see, if we could see that, right? So it's called Double X. Okay. It's actually the multivitamin that they started with back in 1934. Really wild story. It started back when there were, you know, some folks were stuck in an embassy at some point, but there was a conflict. Long story short, they didn't have food, and a doctor figured out how to pull some nutrients together with rust and grass and all these things. And he's like, I got a good idea. So needless to say, you know, we're not chewing on rust right now, right? But, you know, it's
not the moral of the story.
Not the moral of the story.
Maybe we need to.
Anything's possible. I'll let you try that first, then we'll go from there. But
let us know.
I'm just kidding. But, you know, I think that's a great place to start, right? You know, it even mentions, you know, 22 essential vitamins and nutrients in there, right? And the phytonutrients is critical. What Nutrilite does is it pulls the most nutrient dense part of the plant and condenses that straight into a product. So that way, that's what you're getting, right? That's why I also recommend, if you're going to get fruits and vegetables from the store, get organic flash frozen. That's your best chance of getting the most amount of nutrients that you can from a supermarket. So, you know, following that, you know, what other things can you add on? Well, just as much as, you know, taking a supplement like a vitamin is good, finding a great way to get strong, solid rest is important, you know, and that's because we're all on the go. And like I said, I love talking about how to perform at a high level. Running track, I came early, stayed late. I was not the fastest guy on my team when I first started. In fact, I was recruited as a walk-on. That was a good time because how expensive school is. But I earned a scholarship. I earned a captain spot. I traveled across the country running in different events and seeing some Olympic athletes, and some of the friends that I ran with, they have qualified for different events for the Olympics. So fact of the matter is I worked my way there, and I had to become a high performer in that sense. So I love talking about it because I started from not so good to a little bit better, right?
Yeah. And I think a lot of what, like, you pushed through that ceiling
100%.
because he added the supplementation to
100%.
the good, healthy eating, you know,
Yeah.
and a lot of times you don't think that you need it. If you are, you know, we've talked to, you know, neighbors that were like, well, if I want blueberries or if I want antioxidants, I just grab a handful of blueberries. And I'm like, okay, cool. I have a couple more questions. Yeah. You know, are they organic? Like, right. Where are you getting them from? Are you growing them? Because that would be great, you know, but a lot of those, you know, fruits and vegetables are depleted. And, you know, it just helps you level up. Like when, and again, you might not need all of the options, but if your goal is weight management, or if your goal is, you know, more sleep, some people need a sleep assist, you know, and we actually have really good gummy vitamins for that are not addicting. They're, you know, natural ingredients as well. And it just helps people get into a routine because it, you know, as much as I like to buck the system on routines, I know that it's important for, you know, being able to function, like getting up at the same day, you know, time every day. Although I want to sleep in on the weekends, you don't like, you know, bank sleep during the weekends for the week. Like, doesn't work like getting up at the same time every day actually helps with your energy level as well.
Yep. 100%. And, you know, the gummy supplement that Tara was talking about, it's sleep gummies. Wow. Inventive name, right? But it has the right amount. Yeah, it's simple, but it has the right amount of melatonin, and, you know, it's in a gummy form. You can take a handful at a time. Now we obviously, you know, there's recommended, you know, don't take more than three at a time. You need to wake up in the morning, right? But it helps you get into that deeper sleep faster. And that's the point, right? Because if we only have so many hours, you know, a lot of us are running on, you know, we're running 22 hours a day, right? I mean, we're going and going and going, and because we have things to accomplish, and rightfully so, right? But we also, when we need to rest, it needs to be quality. Following that, how do you boost your energy? Well, I like coffee. I've come accustomed to the taste. I enjoy it. Not everybody does, but there's a great supplement that it's called Energy and Focus. Okay, it has the rosea root. Okay, rhodiola for some of you that are maybe more familiar with it, but that has a plethora of benefits because you're not just getting natural energy, you're getting the mental focus and the mental clarity. That's one thing we've been hearing a lot, people who have had, kind of the most recent, situation with, flu-like symptoms, if you will, is not having mental clarity. There's a mental fog. And that, I'm telling you, that is one thing. It's a simple remedy, right? And now, it's not a cure-all, right? But having something that can help with that, but then also with, it has a yerba mate, which helps with natural, it's kind of like a green tea extract that helps with metabolizing and also creating natural energy. Having that compounded together also helps with, yes, mental clarity, but depression, and anxiety. I mean, so many, again, something that you wouldn't get from just one, okay, I'm taking a vitamin C supplement, so that's all I'm getting with that one synthetic product. You're getting all the tertiary benefits. And see those types of products, so many more that we could go through, but I look at, okay, I only have so many hours that I can sleep, so it better be quality. So my sleep gummies are right next to my bed. They also have like a what is it called? The roll-on. I just
the essential oils.
Yeah, it's essential
that's
oils.
Good option as well. If you're not big into swallowing pills, obviously the gummies are really important. Or essential oils is another great option.
Yep. And then something to give some mental clarity, because whether it's time blocking, managing our calendar, staying focused when we're with the kids, the kids, like all the hats that we wear. And honestly, I don't the majority of them. Tara wears the majority of them. I'm just kind of along for the ride. I need to know I need to keep up. You know what I mean? Like I need to stick with her, So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's really helpful, and it's just a value added, at every, stage of the game.
I love it. And so ultimately, I've learned so much. I feel like I'm still learning, and here I am. So where would you see the future of health and wellness, considering we're coming out I don't know if we're even coming out of the pandemic at this point, but where do you see the future of health and wellness? Because I have been on this journey for a while, and you guys have too. And definitely I see a shift in people really are taking the time to get informed and learning and asking questions. And especially with using a platform like this, my intention is to put this information out there as far as wide as possible. So what is your vision of where you guys are going, and what is the future of health and wellness for America?
Yeah, that's a loaded question, but we'll definitely try to, give you our take. Honestly, I've been encouraged in a lot of ways, because I feel like people are waking up to the importance of reading the labels, reading the ingredients. What am I taking in? Even the artificial colors, like those things all, take a toll eventually. And so, paying attention, I think our generation, and especially, our kids are, growing up kind of learning more about, even in school, they're prioritizing the food groups and how the pyramid has changed into, something a little bit more balanced, so I feel like we're headed in the right direction. Although I do feel like there are definitely parts and pieces of people that want things now, or want things to happen yesterday. And the patience that you need to have in this journey of just becoming more healthy or making healthier choices is one of consistency over a long period of time. And so if we can remove the microwave mentality, which, with social media, with everything being at our fingertips so easily, our patience has just waned.
It's dropped.
So for us, it's like, hey, no, it takes work, but it's worth it, because like Chris said at the beginning, if you invest now in your health, whether it's getting, out and taking a walk instead of sitting on your couch right away, whether it's eating something healthy versus eating something not healthy, those decisions are just as easy to make. And it doesn't take a large investment. It doesn't take a lot of time. Like, I am not even a good cook, but I still can find different staples that I can stick with to provide nutrition to my kids and my family. And it takes planning, and it takes, just diligence. So if we're willing to prioritize those things, I think our health and wellness is going to just continue to improve. But people have to be willing to change. People have to be willing to, start and not be afraid to fail either. That's something that we talk to our kids a lot about. And in creating new habits, you are going to, miss it every once in a while. But if you don't beat yourself up and restart, that next day, then you can get that progress,
100%. Yeah. And if I could add one thing, I think, like you said, Dee Dee, what you're doing is what makes the difference, for social media being as destructive as it could be with, everybody flaunting, whatever diet that they're doing and whatnot. Information is out there. And I think it's a little bit more readily available than it was before. And we were excited about being a part of, this conversation and seeing your effort, because it really is taking people who care and getting information that's applicable to people that want to change. I think a lot of people want to change.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants to see their family. Oh my goodness. I just had a conversation with a friend of mine from New York, and, he sees the path his family's going down. They're still smoking heavily. They eat sweets constantly. He's like, Chris, I understand. I'm going to have to take care of them when they get older. Like, yeah. I need to make sure I'm well, 1 and 2. I need to, because he's tried to break in there, but they've just been so ingrained with some of these habits, quick meals, quick microwavable, what have you, and then just bad habits on top of it. And I think the whole idea is, being able to get the information out there. And like I said, Dee Dee, we're so thankful to be able to help out, even just in a small setting like this.
Yeah. And we have a couple of books to plug
100%.
that we recommend.
Yes.
Atomic Habits is a great one for establishing, amazing. And then Compound Effect is also another great book.
That too.
Because I think it's changing your mindset sometimes before it's changing your habits.
Oh, sure. 100%. And what I got from everything you guys have shared, especially your last points, Chris and Tara, is that it's ultimately a choice.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's a choice, right? Like a choice we get to make when we are getting a bag of Cheez-It, or we are thinking about the future because we want to run behind our kids, or, travel the world and retire with style and with energy, because there's no point of crawling out of a Ferrari because you can't move. Right. Imagine that. So ultimately it's really a choice. And like I said, and you guys have said it really well too, that there's so much information, and then you just really being able to make that decision, make that as part of like who you are and the lifestyle that you want to take on for the rest of, your life. And for those listeners, you guys, this is real life. I mean, this is what is going to happen when you choose to be on a healthier path. And it is, when we say path, is because there's no instant gratification. We need to really focus on being consistent. And ultimately, what I really love is standing by what we all believe in is connection, community, and then also relationships. And so if we weren't healthy, we can't have all of that. And there's no sense of life at all. So ultimately, health is wealth, you all, is what the message is here. And abundance happens in wellness. And we get to enjoy it all. And so thank you so much for both of you guys' presence, for what you do, what you stand for, and honestly, for raising the kids that you guys are doing, because they're the future, right? Like, at least, we know two kids that are going to be walking around with good heads on their shoulders and making right decisions for their lives. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate that.
Chris and Tara, it's been a pleasure. I don't know if you've already plugged it. I know that I lost connection for a few minutes. How do we find you? I personally want a consultation as soon as this meeting is over. So how can people reach you and track you down? And let us know. Let us know.
Absolutely. I definitely am going to be giving out free consultation, coupons for people, and then a challenge for trying, our XX vitamin 10 days challenge, because I truly believe that if you take that 2 days, 2 times a day with your meals, you will feel a difference within that 10 days. So definitely check out those freebies. But, we're on Instagram, CTA_dreamers. Nutrition grounded. Yeah. Our website is nutrition-grounded.com, spelled normally.
Yeah, and if you're ever in Northern Virginia, you can come find us. Don't
But
come to our
let us
house.
know
Yeah,
first.
let us know. Ring the doorbell.
All right.
Thank you again so much for your time and for all that you do. And collectively, we get to create the change that we want to see in the world. Thank you again.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank